Kingdom lifestyle.
Morning and praise the Lord. This is Tuesday morning. I have to remind somebody, and Tuesday morning, you know, something great happens. This is the day, this is the time, and of course, this is a show where we meet and talk about leadership. In this show, remember, we are never tired talking about leadership because everything rises and falls on leadership. Every Tuesday when I think that I'll be on this seat talking to you as you talk to me, I tell you the truth, I thank God. Last week we had a very powerful time. And you know, my guest took us all the way and the people kept on voting and saying, bring him, bring him, bring him. I did that. What a blessing. What a show it was. But you know, if your today is not better than your yesterday, something is wrong. Today is another day. This reminds me of a boy who was told by the teacher, tomorrow, if you have no school fees, don't come back. He came to the father, Dad, our teacher said, tomorrow, if we have no school fees, we should not go to school. Then the following day, he woke up early in the morning, and he looked at the father and he said, Daddy, is today tomorrow? Of course, the father didn't laugh. Now, today is today. Today is not tomorrow. And remember again, this show is not just my show. It is your show. And what makes it your show is that if I talk and you are not there, I'll be talking to myself. Remember, we say leadership. If you are not leading, if nobody is following you, you are not leading. You are taking a walk. And I want to believe I am not talking to myself. You are there. And if you are there, then you need to be commenting, writing to us, asking a question. And before you do that, you also need to share. We are in Elevate TV. We are also in YouTube and Facebook. So go to all those places, share, call someone, tell them, hey, they are back again. My name is Apostle Patrick Muriithi Nyaga, and our show is the Leadership Show. Remember, this is Morning Digest. My guest is not new to us. He has been here before. And I tell you, when he came, he left us thinking, will there be a tomorrow? So today, is that tomorrow you're waiting for? He has come back. My guest is Pastor Wangi. This man, we have been together for many years and we have done many things. When I call people here, I call people who I know. They are not just coming to guess or to think when they are seated. They are coming to share with us their experiences, things they have gone through. And remember, I've always said, I don't invite armchair generals. I ask people who fold their sleeves, dart their hands, as they do the work of leadership. Our show today is about the price of leadership. I don't know whether you have ever known that there is a price to pay in leadership. Some people wish and they pray and admire being leaders, but I don't know whether you have ever thought that there is a price to pay. This man is going to unpack this topic with us, and I'm here. My work is to ask a question as you send it to me, and of course, push him to respond. I'll give him a chance to greet us and tell us more about himself. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Apostle, for having me, Apostle Patrick. I'm grateful to be back on the Morning Digest show. Really appreciate what you're doing. It's a great work, and you're impacting lives. And you're touching, you're transforming people through this show. So we're grateful for that opportunity. I think just for those who are maybe new too, my name is Pastor Wangi. To introduce myself, I'm married to Mass Beloved Lamini. We are blessed with 2 daughters. So I'm a husband, I'm a father. But more to that, I'm also engaged in other, other engagements. I'm an author. I'm also a pastor with the Kileleshwa Covenant Community Church. I would call myself a leadership student. I think leadership is a topic I want to look at as a learning experience more than a graduating experience. So leadership is a path of growth where you position yourself to grow. So you cannot sit here and say, I'm an accomplished leader, because I believe there's always one step to go. In every sphere and forum of leadership, it doesn't matter how well you did last year in your aspects of leadership. And as a leader, I think you should always aim to grow. So I would introduce myself as a student of leadership.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And now we are here talking to the students of leadership. You know, when you talk about being a student of leadership, I think I should be the first one to agree. I mean, the years we have worked together and the things I've seen you do, and you know, the lives you have impacted, oh my goodness. I can't say enough in just this 1 hour, but I will try as much as possible to see that we get something out of you that can help someone. And of course, as I've always said, that what makes this show a different show is because of those live experiences that you know, people who come here are able to share. Yes. Anybody can read a book, come tell us what the book says, but I like it when you are the book that is saying it. You know, I saw somebody write something, you must have seen it in social media. They say, if you come from a poor background, stop telling us about your background at 40 or beyond that. I can't remember the years. After that, you are the background yourself. You know, and so price of leadership.
Yes, sir.
Let's start the engine.
Well, I think you introduced the show very well when you said many times people look at leadership in terms of the good perks that accompany leadership. The good position, maybe in an office setup, people look at the corner office, the privileges, the reserved parked place for you.
The red carpet.
The red carpet treatment, you know,
of course, the juice by the door.
Very true, very true. And people look from a distance and they admire the good side, what I would say the outward, you know, things that accompany positions, especially in terms of leadership. But I think to say rightfully, to say that in leadership, there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay in leadership. And I'll sum it up and say the price we pay in leadership is pain.
Wow.
That can be discomfort, it can be inconvenience, but pain is a price of leadership.
Wow.
Because sometimes you may say, I want to be a leader because you are looking at the good things that will happen. Maybe in some cases it comes with extra remuneration, better packages and opportunities to travel. People look at those perks and say, I want to be the leader. You sit in an office and say, I'm looking to the day one day I'll sit in that big office. If you're in the church and you're serving, you're looking and saying, I want to be the senior leader in this ministry.
Yeah, to do things I see them not doing.
Exactly.
I mean, like, is it Absalom who said if there was somebody who could help the king, you know? In other ones, the king has no one.
Very true, very true.
Your case is legit, but there's nobody to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think rightfully to say there's a price to pay in leadership. And that price, I would say, it's pain.
It's pain.
So in leadership, there's what we call the pain points.
So in other ones, you can actually look at the camera to those who want to join leadership and tell them, welcome to the sign of pain.
Yeah, welcome to the pain.
Wow.
that's a welcome call.
And it's good to say that because many a times when people are getting into leadership, they see the reward signs.
Exactly.
And I think the motivation is reward. And then they find themselves in the sign of pain and they doubt whether they were called into that leadership. So what is this pain that you talk about?
Well, thank you for that. It's very true. So there are what we call pain points in leadership. I'll sum it up and say pain should not have a negative connotation in this discussion. There's a positive side to the pain, but we'll come to that later. But just to introduce us today, there are different pain points that you come across in every point of leadership. And they may not apply with everyone, but I think there are few that can cascade across the divide in different platforms of leadership. And I want to highlight a few just to say one could be like rejection. You see, many people are sent to the place of leadership and they assume that everyone will welcome them, they will be accepted. I think it's important we come from a place of understanding that all of us as human beings have a need on the inside of us to be accepted, to be loved. Those are basic needs, even beside being leaders. So when you ascend to the place of leadership, now your sphere becomes wider. And you look forward to the people that you're looking to lead, be it in the church context, even in a church, maybe your department, because sometimes leadership is not just the top echelons of leadership. Even in a church, you could be leading a different department. It could be the music department, it could be the ministry of health. So you could ascend or gain a position or be appointed, whichever way you find yourself in that position. Then go there assuming that people will accept you. So the first pain point of leadership is when you face rejection. Wow. And rejection can be painful because rejection depends on how you deal with it.
Rejection.
Yeah, it can be the first point of leadership because many people have found themselves in position thinking it's great, it's going to be rosy, and you meet a hostile reception. You know, you discover, I think there have been cases in Africa where the African Union or the UN has sent peacekeepers to come and help, just to land on the ground and discover they are unwanted. So sometimes you may come in as a leader with all these good ideas and great PowerPoints, and then you rehearse your speech just to come to some reality that you're actually not accepted. And that becomes the first pain point. Wow. Or the first handle that you have to overcome. Maybe let me state this on the onset, at the beginning. The goal of leadership, the goal of growth in leadership is when you can turn your pain points to growth points.
Mm-hmm. Pain points to growth points.
When your pain points become your growth points, now you're on the path of growth in leadership. Okay. But if you're not careful, your pain point can become the end of it. You can begin to retrogress. Something like rejection can affect your self-esteem. Rejection can affect your confidence. When you discover people don't want you, the next time you stand before them, the next time you're supposed to lead them and give them direction, you find yourself not confident. And you need to be confident as a leader because people read your body language more than what you tell them. They want to see, are you confident of what you're saying? Are you sure? You know, and leadership is part of leadership is motivation. Of course, leadership is not management where you're trying to oversee things. Leadership, you're trying to lead people to another level. You're trying to inspire people. And to inspire people, you need confidence. So how do you even inspire people when already you're dealing with the handle or the pain of rejection?
They have already rejected.
They have already rejected you. Wow. So that's the first pain point. So how do you turn your rejection to a stepping stone and growth?
You know, just remember just a few weeks when our president was in Eastern Meru side and the crowd was so hostile, you know, and they really seemed to reject him, if I use that word. Yeah. And at some point you can tell he got frustrated. Exactly. He said, "Mukiendelea hivi, nitawastaki kwa Mungu."
I think that was an interesting twist.
Of course, he's trying to manage the
dynamics. It's not easy. Let me tell you. You see, rejection is not an easy thing because rejection causes you to question yourself. Okay. When everything is said and done, you go and sit down and ask yourself, am I not good enough? Why did those people reject me? And if you're not careful, you can begin a negative spiral in a negative to begin to say, I don't think I'm good enough for this position. I think I need to resign. I need to ask for transfer. But as I said, the growth, the positive side of the pain is when you can turn those pain points to growth points. So I think the president did handle it well. We are assuming he also reported them to God.
Yeah. And of course, at the supreme level, I mean, there's no other place you can report. Him being the president.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think as you rightly stated, in that example, you can easily become frustrated. And frustrations are bad because the moment you begin to act out of frustration, you're not in control. You are now reacting instead of acting. The goal of leadership is to act, is to show direction. You're not supposed to be reacting because the moment you go on the path of reacting, now you show your negative side, and you'll be so hard to gain control, so to say, once you lose control. And I think as a leader, you're on the spot and you're on the limelight. Sometimes as a leader, you don't have a second chance to make things right.
Wow.
So I think rejection for me would be the first pain point of leadership on the onset. And how you handle that could shape the rest of your leadership path.
You know, Pastor, as we began by talking about or introducing, I saying that the people I bring here, the people who have gone through it.
True.
Do you have a case a case where you went through rejection?
Sure. I think I've been here on the show. I can't recall the discussion. I think we were discussing about transitions in leadership. And one of the issues I shared is just my personal experience in the ministry. And I did share one time where I was supposed to lead a church, and I went through some challenges, and I felt I needed to take a break for a while. And I brought someone else who was supposed to stand in the position. So by the time I came back, the person did what would be our second pain point. It's called betrayal. So betrayal is a pain point, but we'll come to that. So in my case, this person betrayed the trust. I had shared very confidential information with this person to say, you know what, I'm going to be away. I'm looking to transiting, but I'm not communicating to the larger congregation yet. We'll manage this. But in the meantime, you come on, take my position. Let's see if this works for you. If you're good to go, we can begin a transition process. But this person became a bit ambitious, and they thought they can begin to infiltrate the congregation and share very personal, private information which they should not have. The congregation was yet to know, to say, oh, your pastor abandoned you and left the country, is not coming back. So by the time I came back, I didn't know the ground had shifted. In Kenya they say the ground is in Ezakuato. You may come back to a different ground than you thought. So by the time I came back,
ground in tofauti.
Mambo imechange. So when I came back, V2, they say vichenjanga. So when I came back, I realized these are not the people I left. They've been shifted and transitioned, and now I'm dealing with outright rejection, so to say, and outright it's a hostile situation where people you can feel the negativity and that. So I've gone through that experience, I think, as I shared earlier. So that becomes it's how you handle it, and it's not easy. It's not easy because you're looking at people you feel, I think I've walked with you in life, I've engaged you, I've been with you're not dealing with strangers. I think the pain of rejection is the fact that it never comes from strangers. You see, today if you walk on the street and a mad person abuses you and says nasty words, you'll just laugh it off and move on. But the pain of rejection is that it comes from the people you trusted. You don't trust everybody. I think it's David who said once, he said, it is one of my own. It is one who I felt who rejected me. I think the case of his son Absalom. So that's a pain of rejection. The pain of rejection is who it comes from.
Wow.
Anybody else can reject you, but to feel, these are, in my case, I felt these are people I've worked with. I had officiated some of them, their marriages. I had helped them bury their loved ones. We had walked through the journey of life. So being away for a short span and come back and see people being hostile and not accepting you was a serious pain point for me.
Wow.
Yes, so I would share that as a personal experience of rejection. So it's how you handle that pain point and turn it to growth point. But let me say, it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy step.
I wouldn't want to really push you so much, but would you want to share with us the second, or do you want us to, or do you want to tell us how to handle that kind of pain before?
Okay. So
which one do you feel?
I think we can talk a bit. We can touch a bit on rejection, then maybe move on to betrayal. But I think I said rejection causes you to really introspect and question yourself. And I think not to take a very psychological view, but one of the greatest challenges you find with many people in life is people who never handled rejection well. People who face rejection. Look at, even in the cases of maybe in relationships, we had people who whose fathers abandoned the family, and the wife or the mother or the children felt rejected. We've had cases where people felt they went to people, whether it's leadership or other positions. So how you handle that is very important for me. And I think for me it would be, first you need to have an identity. Ask yourself, who am I? You need to have a sure sense of your identity and a sure sense of your calling. Don't try to define your leadership and your identity based on how people perceive you. Because rejection is a negative thing thrown at you. If you take it and use it to define yourself, then you look down and say, I don't think I'm good enough.
Wow.
So for me, I would say, define yourself, know who you are, know your calling. Once you are sure of that, whether people reject you or not, it does not define you. But when you're not sure of who you are, you're not sure of your calling, you will be keen to listen, what are people saying? And if people say you're not good enough, then that becomes your new identity. So for me, the cure to rejection is knowing your identity. Because the moment I know I'm a man right now, Even if I walk down and people shout, you're a woman, you look like a woman. Those things don't define. I know I'm a man. I don't need to be told. I don't need people to affirm it. So, but when you're not sure, rejection can take a huge blow on your case. Wow. So I think that would be an approach for rejection. So I think that's how I'd look at rejection.
When it is thrown at you, don't just use it to define yourself.
Know who you are.
Know
your calling. Wow. And know your vision in life. The rest, it will be just another opinion which does not count.
Wow, man. Again, when you hear this, if you have gone through rejection, you know how you felt it. And if you have never gone through it, I think it's time to now pause and pray for yourself that if it is coming, not soon, but in case it comes, now you know that it is one of the pains, if I put it that way, in leadership, and you must not allow it to define you. Know your identity, know who you are. Rejection should not be what defines you. Know yourself. Let us hear a few comments and then we continue. I'll read a few. Brian, I can see you. It says price to pay in leadership. Werba Wanyonyi, thank you. We appreciate pain point to growth point. Turning them to growth point that's a key word he got there. And Peter Wangi, thank you, Peter. I don't know whether you are still, as we say, my Jew, but we appreciate. The Lord bless you. Kiki Kefa says the pain of rejection comes from the people you trust most. And it is true. So, man, you know, I'm just thinking of you have gone, then you come back, and then you're told there is no landing. Airport while you're away. So the second one.
Yes.
Let's go to the second point.
Thank you. So I think the second one that I highlighted earlier, that is closely related to rejection, is betrayal. One of the dynamics of leadership is that leadership tends to isolate you. Without you, not necessarily. And I know there's a balance in there. You don't always want to be isolated as a leader. But by the virtue of your position and designation and responsibility, you end up not being associating closely with everybody. One, because people look at you different, because you're now the manager, or rather you're now the senior leader. People look at you as, the big man. So the reality, as we've said many times in leadership, is that sometimes leadership tends to be, you tend to be alienated. You tend to be lonely. You tend to not have a lot of people to interact with in your sphere. That can happen. So the challenge of betrayal comes, you find very few people who you can trust when you are a leader. For many reasons. Because sometimes you have a lot of confidential information that you cannot share with everybody. So you may have just very few people in your circle that you tend to be vulnerable to. And so for you to come to a place as a leader where you choose to be vulnerable to someone, it means you have trusted them. So betrayal is a betrayal of trust. So when as a leader you feel betrayed, maybe you said something on the side and you made some personal comments which were not meant for the public or for the larger audience. You confided to someone maybe about your weaknesses as a leader. Maybe you confided to someone about your doubts, because we all have doubts even as leaders. And those are not things you wanted to share to a larger audience. And betrayal comes when what you thought was in a safe space, you discover it was not safe. You know, we live today in the day of social media. You share something in private and you discover someone is using it as their motivational speech on their social media. That's how they are motivating people with your story.
Yeah.
And I think it should be the right of the person to share what they want to share about their life. But you feel, I didn't share that. And I think pastors, we sometimes been blamed a lot for not abiding to the code of confidentiality, where we feel that people's personal challenges becomes our illustrations on a Sunday morning when the audience and the person can know that is my story.
That is me.
That is me. So it's even more challenging, I think, from the place of a leader where you feel there are people you trusted. You are vulnerable to them. So betrayal can be painful. It's a pain point in leadership. And again, how you handle betrayal is important because it can shape or it can destroy your leadership. So I would put betrayal as one of the second pain points of leadership. It's bound to happen. And I think let's always remember what I said. Every pain point is a growth point. The challenge is how do you turn betrayal to become a growth point.
Wow.
It becomes, so to say, what I call a learning curve. Sometimes you ask yourself, did I do my due diligence before trusting that person? Was I so quick to trust? Was I, did I really test this person well before I open up to them? But sometimes, even people who we have trusted, even people who we thought, because people can be very deceptive. Look at the story of, for the Christians, the model of Christ himself. I mean, the proverbial disciple Judas. Jesus was a leader. He had 12 close people in his sphere, and one of them out of the 12 ended up betraying him. So if it happened to Christ, who we would look at a leader par excellence, and who would look at as a model of leadership, then I think as leaders we should not be shocked and blame ourselves too much. For me, I think how you handle betrayal is, don't blame yourself too much. Sometimes you look back and say, why did I trust that person? Why did I not see that coming? I mean, if Christ maybe knew it but allowed it, but if it happened to Christ, I don't think I would encourage leaders, the way you grow from betrayal is that don't beat yourself too much.
Wow.
Don't look back and say, why did I trust that person? Why did I even appoint them to be my assistant? Why did I not see the red flags? Even in, talk about relationship, in leadership, it's the same thing. Betrayal cuts across the board. So for me, it's don't beat yourself too much. Learn from that experience.
Yeah, pick it as a learning point.
Yeah, learning point.
Move with it.
Yes.
Of course, now the next time you talk, you know who to tell what, how to do it.
That's very true.
And wow, it's painful.
Yes.
And really, when you are betrayed as a leader, sometimes you feel like, especially if it is a larger group that betrays you,
yeah.
Sometimes you feel like you should actually not even handle them again. I don't know whether quitting is part of handling betrayal.
I think you're bringing a very good angle. When it comes to betrayal, you are now put on the test. And the biggest test of betrayal, can you forgive and move on? Because you can turn the betrayal to an offense. You can turn the betrayal to what I call bitterness. Betrayal can become bitterness. And you know, even the Bible talks about the root of bitterness. Once you imbibe bitterness, bitterness is a poison that eats you more. Because betrayal is out of unforgiveness. You know, when you become when you don't forgive people, you easily become bitter with them. When people betray you, you can be bitter with them. Look at Moses. When Moses comes down, he thought he had a good congregation who are waiting for the man to come and release the anointing.
And they could hear some voices, he thought it's worship.
Yes. So he comes down and he's like, I have spent time teaching these people. I have taught them to fear God. And he comes and finds they are busy worshiping an idol. He felt betrayed. So many times, if you're not good, if you're not careful as a leader, Moses ended up hitting metal and feeding it. So a leader who is bitter will feed poison in the mouth of the people. When people betray you, the next time you stand in the congregation, you will not be preaching. You will be attacking people with your sermon. You know those sermons that are crafted?
You know what? We'll come back and talk about that area of betrayal.
Yeah.
But when you mention Moses and what he did, somebody saying that I think I agree with them, saying you people have been bashing your pastors too hard when they break one law. Moses broke the 10 of them at once. We're going to take a very short break, just 2 minutes, so that we give you time to share with your friend and call someone and say, hey, Apostle Patrick is back again in Elevate TV and no other social media platform, Elevate TV. So share with someone. We'll be back in a very short moment.
In the heart of Nairobi City, this February, a divine convergence will take place at Nyayo National Stadium. The churches of Kenya extend a heartfelt invitation to you as we welcome God's servant, Pastor Benny Hinn, renowned for signs, healing, and miracles. Join us at Nyayo National Stadium on the 24th and 25th of February 2024 from 3 p.m. daily. For more information, call 0796 92 8052. See you there.
Nico Works Now Trust is a program that comes to you on Elevate TV every Friday at 7:30 p.m. In this program, we dwell into the journey of small and micro enterprises in the country.
Tulikuwa tunafulia watu manguo, wengine walikuwa wameandikwa house girls, lakini saa hii tumetoka hapo.
You can get the story from domestic workers to people handling 150,000 shillings per month. They're just 13 people. We look at the challenges that they're facing.
The city council will harass you for anything, whether you have documents or not. Roads, traffic, such things really affect us.
And we tap into the opportunities available in the sector.
Kio unit tulikuwa tunaambiwa tusikue employees, tujaribu tukue ma employers. So nikaamua naweza anzisha kakao kadogo mashinani.
So nikaona badala niuze gas pekee, nikaanza na vitabu kidogo, books za kuandika na stationery. Nikasoga hivyo, after some time nikaona I still can sell the textbooks.
Join me, Collins Otas, every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Elevate TV, and let us journey together in this show.
Welcome back again. I told you just 2 minutes, and at least you know when I tell you 2 minutes, I will not be lying. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Our guest, man, is doing a good job. Remember, our topic is the price of leadership. And we began by sharing with everyone here that leadership is not just a walk in the park. It is just not walking on red carpet. It's not just about the reward. There is also pain. There is also the price. And when we were going on break, my guests handled two powerful things. The first one is rejection. And then he talked about betrayal. And karibu sana. So if you are joining us, remember, keep writing to us, talk to us. I mean, by that message, if you have a question, just ask, and I'll be happy to answer. Before I went on break, man of God, we were talking, I was reading a few comments in Facebook, and you know I tell people, if I don't read those comments from YouTube, stones will start coming. And we don't have helmets, you know. So Grace, thank you, Grace Muriithi. Do you know that person? That's my relative. And Losari Dirnyaga says, Stuart, good morning. Thank you, Ben Minor. Then I have Damas Mongara says, changing pain point to growth point was key to him. Thank you. And Kefa Momani said, rejection can affect your confidence, but again, the most powerful motivation in rejection is rejection. And then John Juafula, thank you, I can see you. And Joshua Mudhe says, keep learning as a leader from your own experiences. Thank you so much. Awesome life. I want as a leader handle inferiority complex, especially towards our juniors at the place of work. I think at some point you have to answer that as a question. Okay. But let's now, we were just unpacking the handling betrayal. And you know, I'm still back at you have nowhere to land. You know, you have left someone in charge of your ministry, you have talked with them, you are gone, and then you come back expecting at least a callers, some bouquet of flower, something like that. And then by the time you land, you realize you have nowhere to land. The airport is closed. And nobody wants to see you. And this has been, you know, orchestrated by the person you trusted. Yes. Then you talked about forgiveness. I'm wondering whether I ask on behalf of that person who is refusing to ask. Can you forgive someone for doing that? Anyway, there is no sin that cannot be forgiven.
That's true.
But again, you mentioned that you should not allow that to develop into pain. All those things, it is easier to preach about it than to go through it. You know, you have gone through it. So that experience, I'm sure somebody is waiting to hear. So what? So you are forgiven. So do you walk away or do you force yourself into it? Do you report to God and to the police? So how?
I think in my context, without maybe going into too many details.
But remember also, they say the devil is in the details.
That's very true.
But sometimes it's not just the devil.
Yes, there's a lot in the details.
There's a lot
in the details. But I think in relation to our discussion today, what you want to guard yourself, as we said, is to avoid turning that betrayal to bitterness. Because now that places you to a disadvantage. You'll face the shock, you'll face the pain, and you'll face the regret. They say regret is the most painful, one of the most painful experiences in life. Regret, to say, I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
What, even God regretted having created man.
Imagine, that's a painful one. He regretted having put Saul as a leader. So regret is one of the most painful experiences in life. And as I said, you want to guard yourself when you are betrayed. You want to look and say, don't let that betrayal become bitterness. And I think this becomes a test of, can you forgive and move on? In my context, I literally just walked away. I said, I'm not here to strive, because you see, ministry, I don't believe it's a place where you strive and try to prove to people, I am called, I'm the leader here. There may be, and I'm not saying this case applies with everybody, but in my context, wisdom dictated that, I walk away. And I think with time, it was vindicated that that person was not the rightful person to continue with the leadership, because other factors came into play, and the person was exposed as who they were, and they never succeeded in that vision.
And I think, just cutting you short, is I'm just looking at even that walking away is also another part of pain, because leaving what you built for a long time.
Exactly.
You're not just leaving because God wants you to leave. You are leaving because somebody has decided it is not going to work here. I think that's also a pain. It's just walking out on something you built over time, and then you leave it to God.
Yes, because
to people.
It's very true, because you feel you've invested your time, you've invested your emotions. It could even be a business. There are people who went into business partnerships, and that has happened a lot. They trusted people. Maybe they didn't do their paperwork right. They operated on the platform of trust, and they didn't do all the due diligence. They didn't really cover themselves legally. And one day you discover, and I've had that happen many times, you discover the person you trusted has changed the documentation. One day you report to the bank and they say you are not a signatory here. You are not even an agent of this account. Next thing you know, someone has transferred the ownership of the business. It has happened with couples. It has happened with business partners. Betrayal is painful, because you feel you wasted your time. You feel you wasted your energy, the emotion, all the investment you did for the years and for the time in that endeavor, be it a ministry, it can be a business. So betrayal can be one of the most difficult things to handle. It can be one of the most difficult things to handle. I think we say the case of Moses, and Moses responded in the flesh. He actually decided to take poison and feed these people, because how can you betray what I've taught you all these years? So if you're not careful, you can become a dispenser of poison. Anytime you are told to talk, you talk bitterness, because unless you address it's a root. The Bible says the root of bitterness. Bitterness is a root. Many times people cut a tree, but if you don't deal with the root, it will come back again. So you have to address and the only way you deal with the root of bitterness is to pour the what I want to call the medicine called forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only thing that deals with bitterness. If you don't forgive, bitterness will fester, and it will continue to corrode your heart and your spirit, and that impacts on you, and it becomes a hindrance, and you can never progress to your next season and level of life. So the test, and as we are saying here, we are trying to turn these pain points to growth points. So for me, watch that betrayal does not become bitterness, and the way to deal with betrayal is to forgive.
Wow, that is really, really powerful. You are listening to us. My guest has already told you 2 things, 2 points, concerning this price. We are talking about the pain leadership, and 1, rejection. Have you been rejected? 2, betrayal. Have you gone through betrayal? You know, he is unpacking all this because as a leader, you must come into leadership knowing that things can happen. Please keep on writing, keep on talking to us, keep on sharing what you are hearing. And remember, this show is here to help someone. So those are 2 points, sir.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, there are quite a number of them. We'll just touch on what we can in the time that we have today. Another one that I would put in terms of it becomes a pain point and an area of pain in leadership is the aspect of dealing with conflict. You know, every leader must understand that conflict is part of the package. And conflict will come because not everybody will see your perspective as a leader. Conflict will come because naturally we are all different. The way I process things, the way I handle things, the way I see things is not necessarily the way you'll see things. We are talking about issues of emotional maturity here. We are talking about the emotional intelligence. We are not all at the same level. So how we handle conflict and misunderstanding, because they talk today about conflict management and conflict resolution, but those are realities of leadership. If you are a leader, be ready to handle conflict. And that now becomes a very dicey and very delicate issue because how you handle conflict sometimes is a reflection of your personality. There are people by nature, they are avoiders. There are people who by nature avoid conflict. They see conflict and they run. They say, hey, I don't want. The others, they look for conflict.
They thrive.
They thrive. If there's conflict, they thrive. They are in their element.
Yeah.
In fact, they will be looking for
why
are we so quiet here?
Yeah.
So it's a personality issue. So first for me, you need to, again, we go back to the issue of, do you know yourself? Do you understand your areas of strength and areas of your weakness as a leader? Because if you don't understand yourself, conflict will expose you. It will expose your underbelly. You will find yourself having an emotional outburst. You'll say, you people, I don't even know why I am here to help you.
I did not conceive you.
Yeah, Moses became very frustrated.
Yeah.
And he reached that place where he looked at the people and he said, hey, you people you are not even worth. I'm wasting my time here. You know, you may find yourself saying a lot of things.
I do know that was very powerful because he was actually telling God, did I conceive these people?
Yeah.
Did I give birth to them? Oh, why are you torturing me for people I did not conceive? And I think that was really...
Yeah, that's very true.
Conflict. You know, I'm just trying to think, and I don't want to mention people. And I have seen so many people who avoid conflict.
Yes.
You know, they would rather not touch it. They would rather buy you tea than talk about, you know, areas of conflict. And you think it's a personality issue.
One of it is a personality issue, but as we said, it's a growth path. You must first come to the reality that there will be conflict.
Okay.
Even in a marriage, you cannot assume that, and I'm using this as an example, any relationship, because a leader and the people you're leading is a relationship. A marriage is a relationship. So I'm trying to look at any form of relationship. So the aspect of conflict resolution and conflict management, so to say, it becomes a pain point for many leaders. Because you want to be accepted, you want to be loved, but at some time, you'll have to tell people to do things they don't want to do. Sometimes you have to have what we call difficult conversations. For example, sitting down with someone and saying, I don't think I can have you anymore in my organization. Sometimes you have to fire people. Sometimes you have to release people. Sometimes you have to demote people. And I think that becomes a pain point for every leader. It's those things you don't want to do. Sometimes a company cannot sustain the workforce. And imagine you are called as a leader to do the retrenching. So the bottom line here is that leadership is not about popularity. Someone said that if you want to be liked and accepted, you can sell ice cream.
Yeah.
You'll be very popular. But leadership is not about being popular. And conflict is where now the rubber meets the road. How do you handle conflict as a leader? Because conflict is a pain point in leadership. It will come at some time. There will be some conflict. Sometimes people misunderstand you. Sometimes you misrepresent yourself. And by nature, we are different. We will process things different. Sometimes we have a lot of baggage. We see life through the filters of our life. people will have unresolved, sometimes people have unresolved issues in their lives. And so when they come to the workforce, maybe they were betrayed once, as I shared before. They were betrayed by their former workforce. Maybe they had an agreement, we'll be paying you as we go along. Then along the way, the employer adds the hours, doesn't pay, there's no overtime. So when they come to work with you, they are coming with some baggage of, I was betrayed, so I'm watching you keenly, I'm watching you. So they are not free to interact with you. So they might imagine conflicts. Sometimes they even imaginary conflicts because of miscommunication. Because there are many causes of conflict. Some of them is miscommunication. Some of it is misunderstanding. But some of it is real because we all process things different and we are different. So again, conflict becomes a pain point. No one wants to be in conflict. All of us want life to be rosy. We want to be understood. We want things to work out and be good. But if you're going to lead, be it in the church context, in the marketplace, in the business, even in the family, you as a father or the leader of that family, you will be in conflict with your children sometimes, with your spouse sometimes. So conflict is part of the package of leadership. It's a pain point.
Wow.
How do you turn that to a growth point?
Wow.
That's true. That's a question. Right?
There is no way you can lead and avoid conflict.
Exactly.
And of course, man of God, we always say that when you call people to lead with you, they come with their hands.
Exactly.
And when their hands start working, you discover they cannot work as robots. Robots, you can program them, bring tea, do this time, and it works. But when people start using their hands, they start asking, why is it that you are the only one who purport that God spoke to you? Don't we have ears? Can't we hear? And in the process, you see Aaron, Miriam, and Northern Korah stories of conflict. So when this conflict happen, and you are this personality that you would rather avoid, by the way, can you avoid conflict enough for them to cool down?
I would say there are different strategies or approaches to conflict. And this is where now we come to what we call emotional intelligence. How you're able to manage your emotions without... Sometimes people talk to you and you look at them, you want to say you are fired and end the conversation there.
I don't want to see you.
I don't want to see. Can you call the watchman? Can you escort this man? You want to exercise. You see, you cannot lead people from a position. You lead people from a relationship.
Okay.
And that is tested in the... You see, a manager can work with... there's a difference between managing and leading people. Managers can work with position. Come on, bring that paper. Did you sign here? Is this your contract? Do you understand your job? You have not met your expectation. That is one. You have one more chance. Go. That is a manager. A leader, you have to first understand this person. Why are they saying what they're saying? So leadership is a difficult work. Or first trying to put yourself in the shoes of this person who is disagreeing with you. Trying to see their point. Do they have a point? Because sometimes the reality is, this person may have a point. They may be seeing things from a perspective which is to you is a blind side. When you're driving, you have that blind corner. You have a blind side you don't see. And this person could be seeing it, you're not. And if you're too quick to nikiitana nikikohoa
mnaitika.
If you come with that philosophy, nikikohoa mnaitika, you may not always, again, you may end up leading just followers, because I think the goal of a leader is to groom leaders.
Wow.
That's the goal of leadership. That's, to me, success. Because if you just want to groom followers, then they'll cohoa, because sometimes they are desperate, they need the money, they need the position. But the day they stand on their feet and they are able to think now, because that Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, the more you go up the ladder, the more you want to actualize yourself. You question. When you are down the ladder there, you are trying to survive. You don't question. You want food. So
you eat
whatever they tell you, I'm paying you 10,000, you say, okay. But once you actualize yourself, you grow, you start thinking, I think I'm doing too much. I think there are other options. You try to process. So I think going back to the aspect of how do you handle conflict as a leader, it's a big topic and it's deep without really digressing too much. But I think in the context of growth being a pain, conflict being a pain point of leadership, for me, first you need to do some bit of introspection. First, try and accommodate other people's perspective. Try to understand why they accommodate what I call divergent views. Why do they have divergent views? Why, is their opinion valid? Do they have a point, so to say? Because if you just write off people and say, hey, I'm the manager here, I'm the pastor. I'm the one who was called. Were you there when I was called? You see, if you come from that, trying to lead from position, people may sometimes withdraw and watch you and say, okay, you want to go ahead by yourself. So part of the pain point of leadership is trying to change that conflict and saying, maybe there's a point here. Yes, there may be times you may need to review and say, okay, I see your point. I've heard you. There are times you may tell people, I've heard you. However, I still stick to my decision because you have a leader, you have a more panoramic view. Sometimes the people who respond can only look at things from their department. For example, someone could say, I tendered my budget from my department. How come my budget has not been approved? How come my budget is being cut? But that person is only seeing their budget. You as a leader, you are seeing 10 other departments that have budgets that needs to be approved. So when you scale down their budget, you are not really attacking them. That is important for them to understand. So that is important because you have a different conflict. And I think the other issue that is very critical when it comes to issue of handling conflict is that you deal with the issue, not the person.
Wow.
Because it's very easy to start saying you. If you start a conversation with you have lost it. Leave the person there, put the issue here. Let's talk about this cup. Don't start saying how you brought this cup. It's not the person you're dealing with. The issue is this cup, so let's discuss this cup. Leave the person out of it. Deal with the issue, not the person. Because if you don't deal with the issue, sometimes you can jump to the person. I knew you don't trust my leadership. You see, you can leave the issue and start attacking the person. I think many married couples have gone through this journey where the issue is forgotten. You did this last time. I knew you. Even your in-laws. I know where people come from. Now the issue is forgotten.
I've been watching you.
I've been watching. I've seen last week you did the same. You see now the issue is forgotten. So the key thing in conflict, handling conflict as a leader, is to always maintain your eyes on the issue, not the person. Because you look at the person. I know you people where you come from. You see now you have left the issue. So those are dynamics of how to handle conflict. Because what you're trying to do, as we said, the goal of part of the underlying principle of what we're discussing today on the price of leadership, in this case pain, is how do we turn these pain points to become growth points? So how do you turn conflict to become your growth point? So you also grow in conflict resolution. The more you handle one issue, it gives you confidence. And next time another issue comes, you will not be scared and running. If you're an avoider, you begin, because some people start from avoiding, others start from looking for conflict. So we have to meet somewhere in the middle.
And others will rather send another person.
Others, it's part of avoidance.
Then
they say let another person handle this issue because they are avoiding that issue. It's a hot potato.
Yeah, that is when they really use delegation.
Yes, now leadership. They empower people to deal with the problems, but the good times they will appear for the good time.
Yeah.
I think it's become a handicap on the leadership. I think you have to grow yourself holistically as a leader and accept that conflict is part of the package of leadership.
Wow.
And it's a pain point, so to say.
Wow. I think everyone listening to me and listening to this conversation, you can see why there's a lot of issues in leadership. And I tell you, this show is about leadership. It is a wide topic when we talk about leadership. And I'm sure you are there thinking, oh, I quit because I was rejected. I quit because I was, nobody seemed to understand me. That's why we are here. This man is trying to help you say conflicts do come. And if you are leading people, be sure there will be conflict. So what must you do? You must be willing to handle them. And of course, you can't avoid conflict forever. They'll be there. Jesus handled them. Moses handled them. If it ain't, who are you? I mean, what kind of people will you be leading that will not bring up these issues? And again, remember, my guest has said is so powerful. Use those points as your growth point. The more you handle pressure, the more you handle these things, the more you develop a muscle in leadership, and you're able to handle many other things. Let's go to the next.
Okay. Moving on, I think one more we can add is what I call the lack of balance. Lack of balance is a key pain point for many leaders. And there are people who argue, even philosophically, they say, can you find balance in life? Because the reality is, at any given time in life, you will be out of balance. sometimes when you're starting a business, the scale tends to tilt. There's a lot of work needed. You're starting a new project. Those early phases of, you may not really have balance, but the goal of leadership is to maintain that equilibrium. You may not always be there at equilibrium. I'm talking about balance, and maybe to make it more practical. Assuming you're a pastor leading a ministry, you wear many hats. You're not just a pastor. You're a husband, you're a father, you have other responsibilities. And one of the pain points of leadership is, how do I maintain balance? Because your spouse, your wife or your husband can look at you and say, you're married to the church. You're married to the business. You don't have time for your children. You don't have time for us. You don't have. So when that begins to come, you begin to ask yourself, am I tilting too much on the scale of balance? So one pain point of leadership is maintaining balance. And this is the key thing to watch. When you don't maintain balance, you risk running, or rather going into what I call burnout. Burnout is a fruit or a sign that you're out of balance. You see, when a wheel is misaligned in a car, that wheel will eventually start, rubbing off some parts of the car it's not supposed to. And there will be wear and tear. There will be friction. So sometimes the friction, sometimes the burnout. Many people feel burnout because the scales have tilted too much. Because balance helps you to stay stable. It's just like riding a bicycle. The reason why the bicycle moves is because you have maintained balance. But if you have not maintained balance, you have no time to move forward. You'll be trying to spiral in circles, and once you maintain balance, you're able now to progress forward. So in leadership, that's a key issue. It's, how do I maintain balance in my leadership? I don't push one side too much. I don't undo one side. Even as a leader, find balance where you balance between retreat. You find time to retreat, find to self-care, attend to yourself. Take some time off the business. I know in the initial starting of a business, the balance, as I said, may not be there, but you strive towards bringing that balance, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a business, whether it's a career. There has to be a balance between your family life, your career life, and that balance helps you to stay stable. Because if you don't attend to the balance, you easily push one side, and what happens is that you wear out. So burnout is a sign that you're out of balance. And that's a pain point for many leaders. They struggle. How do I keep balance? They find themselves married to the church, married to the business. They leave at 5 a.m. to go open the business, come back at 10 p.m. The kids are gone. And when that becomes over time, you discover you're becoming a stranger to your own children.
So how do you find that balance? Because I'm sure after this, that's what somebody will be asking. I don't know whether you've ever handled a case or you have a teacher has ever taught and he is done, he's about to give assignments and everybody's looking at him like, introduce the topic now, And I'm saying this because, to be very honest, with the pressure of life, and especially business people, church, family, fathers, when you tell a father balance between getting school fees, taking that child to school, being in the parent meeting, coming back home to find others, being a husband, that pressure. I feel people are feeling a lot of pressure, and it's a painful thing. And somebody's asking, so what must I do? Peter preach a whole sermon. And after he is done, people say, so what must we do? The other ones, conclude. Yes. Tell us, so how do we get the balance?
For me, I would say one way to bring balance into your life is to have what I call accountability people or accountability pillars.
Okay.
Because these people tend to look at you from an angle which you don't see. When you're going out of balance, you cannot balance yourself. You cannot always know you're out of balance. Sometimes it is your spouse, your husband or your wife who will throw those red flags at you and say, hey, you're out of balance. What I'm saying, you need a referee.
Wow.
Because a game cannot remain balanced unless there's a neutral person. So let there be a person in your life who is neutral, who is accountable, a Jethro factor. Jethro is the one who looks at Moses and says, my friend, you are out of balance. You are overdoing yourself. You are overworking yourself. That Jethro could be your wife. It could be some elder in the church you trust. It could be a minister, friend, who will ask you, when is the last time you took leave?
Man of God. Hey, I'm being told that we must land.
Okay.
Now we have to nosedive. But I think you have left it at a very good point.
Yeah.
How to put a balance in life, in ministry. One, you must have accountability pillars. And I think because of that, we have to talk behind the tent and see how you come to finish that, because I don't appoint to finish that.
Yes.
Only you can do it. You know, we leave this patient on the table because of time, and they see whether next Tuesday you'll still be alive for us to continue with the operation. We are going to end it there until next time, but I give my guest a chance to just give his parting shot in less than in 5 seconds.
Okay. I think my parting shot is what I've tried to say. Turn your pain points to growth points. That would be my parting shot.
Thank you so much. I know we have so many comments we are not able to read today. I know you've been asking, how come Apostle Patrick, you know, Gumbuko, you are seeing me, Patrick, Francis Wairisho, you are just seeing me, you know. When this man began talking, oh my goodness, I became the student and I was learning. We are going to put it off today, but we'll be back next week on Tuesday. But remember, I've always said that after this, we meet on the other side at the YouTube. Just go to at Apostle Patrick and just subscribe there. We'll be listening to what we call A Story with Apostle Patrick. On Sunday, we are meeting at Gospel Celebration Church Kayole. That is where we meet, and I'll be speaking into your life. On Wednesday, 5:45 to 7 p.m. Again, we are there, Kayole, GCC. I'll be speaking to you. I want to say you are most welcome. From my side, the Lord bless you. See you again on Tuesday. Shalom.